All right. Good morning, folks. My name is John Decker. I am the Director of Community Services at Alta California Regional Center. Today is April 14th, 2023, and this is Coffee with Community Services, which is Alta California Regional Center's weekly vendor meeting. As is usual, this meeting is being recorded. It goes on to YouTube, and then it is linked on our website as well. So we will start by going over some introductions of our staff, and then we'll talk about our agenda items. And after the introductions, I think we'll call on Rima first after we do all our introductions. So we'll start with, and I see on my top row 2 new staff, so that's good too. So I'll start off with our introductions for Bobby. Bobby, I'll let you unmute yourself. Can you tell what do we got on? We got about 65 folks on so far this morning. Can you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Bobby Powell, and I am a new staff in community services. So I'm a new specialist, and I'm on Michelle's team. So I see Michelle's here as well. I've been with Alta Regional for 4 years. And then prior to that, I was with Valley Mountain. So I have experience in children's case management and adult case management. So
awesome. We certainly welcome Bobby, and I'm going to jump over to Beverly real quick and have Beverly unmute herself, and she can introduce herself as well. Uh-oh, we got to unmute you first, Beverly.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Beverly Lim. In my previous roles, I worked as a supervisor for an independent living service agency and a facilitator for a supported living service agency. Prior to Alta, I worked in case management under the California COVID-19 Rent Relief and Utilities Program, specifically focusing on quality assurance and grievances. So it's wonderful being here as your community service and support specialist.
Awesome. Welcome. All right, let's go through. We have a lot of Alta staff on, so we're going to do some introductions. So from Community Services, I see Scott Barr. Good morning. I see our Director of Clinical and, oh my gosh, why do I mess it up every time? Intake and Clinical Services, Camelia. Good morning. And Heather Hollingworth, our Acute Care Coordinator. Maybe we'll take a minute to explain a little bit about that role to folks. Maybe we'll do that next week.
That'd be perfect.
We'll do some time since we're meeting about it today.
Okay.
And then Helen, Community Services Manager, is on. Carol from our Client Services Managers. Let's see. We see Damien on from Community Services. Good morning. Client Employment Specialist Carly is on. Jordan is on already. Good morning. Rima, who we've already heard from a little bit. We're going to hear from a little bit more shortly. Good morning, Rima. And let's see. We've got Gary from Community Services. We've got Dana, Client Services Manager. Good morning, Dana. See Alicia on here, our HCBS Specialist. Our manager, Michelle, is on. We've got Danny from our Community Services Department. Good morning, Danny. Clients and Service Managers. I see Veronica's on here. I see Rowena. Rowena, you have to wave to people because I have that exact same shirt. And we are going to wear it together one day at work. Yes. The problem is that when I buy the Alta stuff like that, you can't see the logo because it's hidden a little bit. And so that being said, we'll work on matching one of these days.
I think your beard's covering the logo, John, not the color. It's your beard.
Oh, no. Yeah, absolutely. It is the beard. So maybe we'll do braids or something like that. All right. And then let's see. We have Jason on. Good morning, our lead community services specialist. The Associate Client Services Director, Tracy Brown's on. Good morning, Tracy. I see Isabella from Community Services. Good morning. And Denise and Adriana and Leah from Community Services, and Phil Perez, Client Services Manager, and Heidi up in Grass Valley, and Director of Client Services, Jennifer Bloom. I wonder if, Jennifer, you would not mind sharing briefly about your experience that you had yesterday with folks when we get to that point in our agenda.
Oh, sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then additional Client Services Manager. So I see Laura on this morning. Good morning. Cindy Lay's on. Good morning as well. Another Associate Client Services Director, Johnny Zhang, is on here. So good morning. And I think that takes me to my second page. Everyone all right. I think I grabbed all the managers that we've got on here. So good morning, folks. For our agenda today, I'm going to go over that, and then we're going to throw it to Rima. So the first agenda, we're going to have Rima do a presentation. Then we're going to go to a discussion about our biennial assessments, or evaluations that we are doing. We're going to do an update on our HCBS grants. We're going to do some updates on some stuff out of Jordan's unit related to our RFP for our forensic home, our multifamily housing project, upcoming vendor forums that we have. We are going to talk about the PAC meeting yesterday. We're going to have a discussion about the document that came out of our vendor relations committee, which was a kind of a communication guide for working with community services, and some of the discussion that came out yesterday as well related to in-person participation in meetings. That was a topic at our meeting yesterday. So I want to start by throwing it over to Rima, and I hopefully will do this correctly and spotlight Rima so that you can see her. So I'm going to add a spotlight if you see Rima there now, and I'm going to remove my spotlight so you can see her very well. And so what are we going to be doing?
Okay, so what we're going to do is the sign of the week. Before I talked about another upcoming event, but this week I know a little bit of sign, or I know some sign. Sometimes you may meet a deaf person and you want them to know that you know a little bit of sign, and then they start signing really fast to you. So here we go. Let's start with the copy me, please, with your index finger. I know a little bit. Or you could say some. I know some signs. So I know a little bit of sign, or I know some sign. So that's helpful for the deaf person. They may think that you may be saying hi and then start signing really fast to you. And then you're like, wait a minute, I just know a little bit. So then they'll know to slow down and probably communicate in a different way, maybe writing back and forth or something like that. So John, can you share your screen on the ASL National Day? Right,
Just
this
give me one
month
minute.
is Deaf Awareness Month. And I'm also doing some spotlights on, different deaf individuals with disabilities, additional disabilities. So I don't know if you want me to share that too, but
Yes, please.
oh, wait. Okay, so tomorrow's Saturday, the 15th, and that's National ASL Day, where we continue to spread awareness and celebrate American Sign Language for, communication needs in the deaf community. So this is an infographic here, and you may be, interested in some of these facts. So talking about a foreign language, America, we provide different languages in all sorts of the educational setting. So it's really cool that people now can learn American Sign Language as a foreign language. So you may want to reach out to your kids at school and see if they offer that. And then number 2 talks about sign language. It includes lots of expression, and there's just some examples of what this might mean. For example, whoa, or wow. It's a little bit, or this is amazing. They're all the same signs, but you can see the different degrees of meaning within the facial expressions. Or maybe what? You see the eyebrows, how they look? That shows you're asking a question. So facial expression is a huge part of American Sign Language, just like hearing people use inflection and tone in their voice and the way they speak. And then number 3 talks about, children picking up language. Just as hearing children pick up language at home, they learn it, within the environment, that incidental learning. And sometimes you'll see children even babbling with their hands, like mama, or mama, that, and then later they'll change to the correct sign of mom. Instead of the index finger, they'd be using the thumb on the chin. So they're very similar as hearing children in terms of babbling. And then you know that ASL is one of the most popular languages. There's also Spanish and Mandarin and so forth, but a lot of people now are really interested in learning. And so I want to see more, more of you. Hopefully you guys will be signing as well. And then I love you in ASL is signed like this. And it follows a hand shape. It's the letter I, the letter L, and the letter Y, I-L-Y. I love you. All three together signed like this. Very cool. I think it's very creative that it was a sign created from actual finger spelling or the manual language. So, and also grammar in American Sign Language is very different than English. It follows a different, it's a different structure. Both languages are the same. There's linguistic rules in both languages, English and American Sign Language. But again, American Sign Language includes body language, facial expressions, and so forth to indicate, what it is they're trying to express. So hopefully you've learned some interesting facts today for me. And I'll try every week to do the sign of the week, but also add some information like Deaf 101, deaf culture, linguistical information so you guys can learn. I'm trying to figure out how to share that with the vendors. So I'll have some discussions with John so we can get that sent out to not only Alta staff, but vendors as well.
Again, having Rima on staff here is so helpful for us, and it opens up us to a great opportunity to learn more about how to better serve about 1,500 of our clients. And so I do like the opportunity of being able to ask Rima to do things like this. As per usual with these community services folks, they don't know in advance if I'm going to ask them to do some type of presentation to you guys usually on a Friday. So Rima certainly had no idea I was going to ask her to share all that information. So awesome job, Rima. Thank you very much. And I do want to carve out times within this meeting because, and I hope all of our Alta staff are looking at those emails that come out, because when she does the videos, she will also put some narrative information on there as well. That is kind of some deaf plus facts, things that like you would not necessarily understand unless you are a deaf person or you work, really, really closely with individuals that are deaf, which we don't. We have one person, on staff. So again, I appreciate the resource. Thank you very much, Rima, for that. I am going to throw it over to Michelle.
And thank you also for giving me the space to really share and educate, because I think this is it's so nice and within our group. So thanks, John.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw it over to Michelle to talk about biennials. And if you want me to share my screen with the letter, let me know, because I do have it up.
I have it up, John. I can share.
Okay, good.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, maybe it's not allowed. It's saying I can't share. John, maybe you want to share that. I apologize. I just sent the updated one, but so I'll let John, can you? There we go. So we have our vendor processors and our office assistants going through our biennials. So this letter right here that John is showing is just showing that per Title 17, Section 54332B, we are required as regional centers, we shall at least biennially review our vendor files. And we need to determine these 6 sections right here. So the information required for vendors is current, complete, and accurate, that at least one consumer has been provided service by the vendor within the last 24 months. The service currently provided by the vendor is the same service approved for vendorization. Vendors meet the minimum program standards as specified. The vendor has signed the home and community-based service provider agreement, and the vendor is not in violation of the requirements stated in Section 54314. A7. So this letter right here, as our Dasha and Linda are going through, if we are missing current documentation in your file, this is what you will receive with that needed documentation listed. So we're asking if you do, those are being worked on right now. If you get that, if you have any questions, the contact email will be there, but if you can get those to us as soon as possible, and we're hoping that no later than May 5th. So just keep an eye out if you get that. That's what that is. We just wanted to advise you kind of what that letter looks like and why you will be receiving that.
Let's see, do we have any questions from any service providers related to this? Again, this is something that DDS is looking at very closely for us as regional centers. Some of you are aware that this was a component of our state audit that occurred by the Department of State Auditors. And us, as well as the other regional centers, were found to not be doing our biennials consistently all across the board. And this was also a finding that was made, I think, in 2015 with regional centers as well. So we are very serious about it. We've got the staff, I think, lined up to be able to get the things done that need to get done, but we just need service providers to be responsive when these letters go out. So we have not heard of any issues, and just looking forward to making sure we keep everything updated. All right, thank you very much, Michelle. I am going to throw it over to Alicia now to talk a little bit about the HCBS grants. So I'm going to make the spotlight on Alicia there.
Good morning. As everyone knows from last week, DDS had approved the HCBS grants for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. And this week I was able to get out letters to all of those who received a grant as well as all of those who weren't chosen. We had over $3 million in requests and only $989,000 to give out. We have some really exciting projects coming up, including funding for technological services so that individuals can sell their items in the community, creation and implementation of new student services programs, some new vehicles and conversions to vehicles to help individuals access the community, a rideshare transportation coordinator position, a lot more person-centered planning trainings, and a creation of a housing database so clients can post their roommate needs and potentially get matched quicker to a potential roommate. Housing application assistance program too. So we have lots of projects coming up. We were able to have 12 different vendors picked for a grant.
Excellent. I saw Carol's eyes just light up when she heard the roommate database. Since we've been talking about it strong for the last 13 years or so, 10, 12 years or so. So we shall see. Oh, that would be fantastic. And we also had another discussion. We met with some service providers yesterday related to those some of the HCBS special grant funds that we were able to give out. And so we will be talking some more about future training opportunities for service providers in the realm of person-centered thinking and getting yourselves in HCBS compliance. We've got some events that we're going to be doing. We're kind of in the early planning stages, but some exciting stuff, definitely keeping Alicia very busy. Additionally, we're looking internally at our documents and as they relate to quality assurance and figuring out ways in which we can ensure that we are holding service providers accountable to the HCBS guidelines that everyone needs to be following. And so with that, there's a number of things internally that we are looking at, things, for example, like our residential facilities and the review tool that is put together for that. So stay tuned as we as a regional center figure out the best way to, in a coordinated fashion, ensure that we are continuing this momentum that we have towards compliance with our providers. Because right now it's not a ton more than just momentum, because We haven't really built in the oversight aspect of it with the service providers. There's been a lot of questions about whether or not the Department of Developmental Services will uniformly develop something for regional centers so that we can do things like those HCBS quality assurance checks across different types of vendors. And I think the only information we've heard from the department is, we will kind of get back to you about that, or we're things that we are looking into. So it came up, I know, last month when I was doing the budget hearing testimony by the budget subcommittee. That was certainly a question that they had as well, is, you've done all these HCBS activities, but how, DDS are you going to ensure that it keeps happening for these providers that we're keeping? And the answer was, well, the regional centers, do visits out and do quality assurance things, but there's a big difference between us doing those and the way we doing them being in line with the guidelines fully. So that's where we need to work on updating things internally here at the regional center. Let's see. Oh, and I see Adriana from Community Services on this morning too. Good morning, Adriana. All right. Let's jump over to the DSP Collaborative. I know I spent a lot of time last week talking about it, and it seems like whatever issues that may have existed as it related to, whoops, that's not the right screen, is it? Yes. Are we seeing the DSP Collaborative, Gary? All right, good. Just making sure. All right. So this is the website. We showed it to you folks before. This is a free, want to make sure everyone is aware of this because there were some questions about it for people that tried initially to log in. This is a free opportunity for you to be able to advertise your jobs, a free job board. And why we are talking about this so much and why you've received repeated emails probably from me about this is that we are starting to begin our public relations thing where we're going to be starting ad buys to promote the website. And we really want as many of you service providers on the website as possible. So right now in Sacramento County, for example, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We have 12 providers on, which is pretty good. I see people that have day programs, but not people that primarily do day programming. And so that's still a little bit of a concern because, again, I've certainly heard loud and clear that day programs are having challenges hiring. And so I'm hoping that we get some more on there. Not only is this for our service providers, but it's also for service providers of Valley Mountain Regional Center. So you can see Valley Mountain's 5 counties that they have down here. And again, they're starting to get signups in their catchment area as well. They look like they've got at least what DDSO is on there for San Joaquin County. So I just want to really encourage folks. This is that opportunity for you to be able to participate in the website for free. I think initially, Michelle identified the issue and Erica might have been aware of it as well, was that there was a pay option that looked like it was on there where you had to pay $2,500 to post your jobs. And I think the response at the time is that you just didn't click on it and it still worked. But I believe they took that off of there completely now if someone is trying to do it. But I will tell you, for these folks that have done this, no one is paying to be on this website. And so that being said, because you guys, and I don't know if I didn't see if Garrett Broadbent was on here, but if anyone is having issues, would you guys be willing to talk to a service provider that might have trouble posting their jobs on there? I know we can get Scott Sanders, our website developer, to talk to folks, but Eric or Michelle, is that something that you guys might be willing to help out with?
Sure.
Thank you very much. I see Eric nodding his head too. Thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate that. So wanting to jump, and I think I introduced Carly earlier. I'm pretty sure she's still on here. I wanted to jump over to, yeah, there she is. Hey, Carly. And so wanted to jump over. We have our Career Expo that's coming up as well. And you had some updates as far as the number of people that have signed up thus far, which is?
Yes, so as of Monday, we had 51 providers signed up to attend the Sacramento event, and I did send out confirmation emails to everyone who had signed up as of Monday. If you have signed up since Monday, I have not received the updated list, but I will be receiving updated lists as we go, and you can expect to receive a confirmation email.
So we are going to be verifying next week, basically, I think, how many more people we can add to the space, right? That's the plan, Carly. We're going to try to get eyes on there. We know that the 50 amount was pretty solid for service providers, but we do want everyone to sign up that is interested. One of the things that I think Lori brought up yesterday was at the provider advisory committee, or at least she mentioned it, was the idea of doing additional job fairs. I know I got a job fair for Grass Valley. Heidi, I don't know if that came to your attention as well, that they're planning a job fair up in that. I see you nodding. Awesome. I know not much goes on up in the Grass Valley area that you were not aware of, but I know I got it emailed over to me too. But we've certainly heard from providers that serve the Placer County area, Sutter Yuba areas, things like that, that they might be interested in a job fair up in their area as well. The nice thing about the website is that it goes over all of our different areas. And so that, that makes it kind of nice. But let's see, Carly, anything else that I'm forgetting about that? We are looking at trying to get food trucks at least on site. I know I was talking to Charlotte about that yesterday. And then you should start seeing advertisements, because I just okayed a ad buy yesterday from our consultants. So we should be getting some stuff on, I think, KCRA, something like that. Carly?
Yeah, no, I think you covered everything. We're starting the big PR push to attract job seekers. We're looking at, I think, 2 food trucks. And then for everyone who has signed up, I will be following up with additional emails once we can confirm what time our the registrants can get there that day to begin setting up. So there will be more emails with more details coming.
And we will be there. We're going to have our Alta staff there to help you out as well. So I know I will certainly be there early in the morning, and we'll be there to get you guys set up. And we've got staff that are planning on being there throughout the event as well. So again, we just want to support you as service providers, because though we are hearing, I will tell you, and I could ask this group about it more, we're hearing kind of anecdotally that people are starting to get some more resumes that are coming in. They're starting to get, some people are starting to see some more qualified candidates. And so, with that, we just want to help out and get folks as, back to, well, I don't know, back to get to normal, because normal was always a state of not having enough. And so let's hope we can get to a more abundant state than we had previously, so that we can keep up with our increasing demand for services and the growth of our agency. Like, that's what this is all about. And that's why, like, even right now, it's nice having one big group of 86 of us that can kind of come together, because that is what we are facing. We have unprecedented growth. And at the same time, we have, the charge to really get out to our entire community and bring in all the eligible individuals. Camellia certainly knows all about this, bringing in and making sure that, we make the process as easy for all the individuals as well. And so having service providers is the key to this. Regional centers don't do any direct services. We actually can't. It says in the law that we're not allowed to do direct services. So we rely on you all. And so being able to bring in vendors faster, we're working on some of those processes within the regional center. I know I don't want to count the number of hours that Michelle spent trying to get the vendor orientation moved over to an online learning platform. But if there's anything that we can do to shorten that time frame, make it easier, we're really looking at the standardization and making it very easy to figure out which documents are needed for vendorization as well. We've certainly looked at a number of our different vendor codes and knocked off some different documents that we've asked for in the past as well, because they probably weren't needed. And so, again, there's a huge charge in front of us to meet all of these needs, and we're only going to be doing it through kind of a collaboration between us and all of our providers. With that, again, DSP Collaborative is our name. Please get on there and post your jobs. We would really appreciate that. Jennifer Bloom, talking about collaboration. That was kind of one of the reasons I think why you got invited yesterday, right? With the folks to testify. So
Yes.
Would you mind sharing with us? I'm going to spotlight real quickly. We get very adult oriented when we do a lot of these coffee with community services meetings. We've got a
Mhm.
huge adult population,
Of
but
course.
we also have a lot of children that we serve, and certainly a lot of children's service providers that are on as well. And so I'm going to throw it over to Jennifer to I'm going to add a spotlight to her, and so she can update you on her adventures yesterday.
Okay, it was an adventure. Alta California Regional Center was asked to testify before the Senate subcommittee hearing yesterday on the topic of Assembly Bill 2083. So for those of you who may not know what that is, we just call it AB 2083. There are memorandums of understanding across all 58 counties in California. And the purpose is to really facilitate a no wrong door approach to serving any dually served youth. So this could be regional center and probation. It could be mental health and probation. It could be SCOE, Sacramento County Office of Education and mental health. It's any child who is served by more than one system. This really has been I think it's really a mindset and a culture shift, and it's been so positive to be a part of. I've most specifically been involved with Sacramento County and AB 2083. Johnny and Tracy have been involved with a number of other counties, and so have our managers. And through this process, we're meeting regularly, sometimes 2-3 times a month with the various counties, and we have developed these MOUs, and we really take it to heart, meaning that if there is a child that's served in our county, how can we work together to meet those needs? Yesterday's testimony was with Placer County specifically, and Johnny has been an integral partner with Placer County, Johnny Zhang. And I was asked to testify because just of my experience in working with AB 2083 as a whole. And really the premise and the collaborations are the same across at least the 10 counties in our catchment area, I can say. And so we had Placer County Child Welfare speaking about the youth that they serve. We had Placer County Office of Education present. I was there to represent Regional Center involvement, and the Children's Law Center was there as well. And so we just really gave a historical perspective, like how we've come to be, what benefits have we seen, what additional work is needed. I was able to give a case example from Placer County. I chatted with one of our service coordinators earlier this week, and with Faye Tate, our Associate Client Services Director, about a little guy who was born at 26 weeks. He was in the NICU for 79 days. He was placed in foster care at age 3. And now he's 6 years old. Since that time, though, he's learned to walk. He's learned to, he's speaking with vocal approximations. He's gesturing. His aggressive behavior has decreased significantly. He's eating solid foods. He's playing with Hot Wheel cars. He's in kindergarten through Placer County Office of Education. He's getting speech, OT, PT, transportation. And so it was just, that example was really to underscore the importance of our collaboration and partnership with Placer County and all the counties in our catchment area. So we talked about that at length, and, and really talking about how this work extends beyond AB 2083. It's not just, I get calls from behavioral health saying, hey, do you have any ideas about this? This person is not a regional center served client, but what do you think we should do? And so it's just really nice to have those collaborations and be able to pick up the phone and know who to talk to at the various counties that we work with. So there were 2 things that we suggested as more work in the area of more work to do. One would be that we, meaning the system of care as a whole, we recognize that it would be simplest if there were like a single funding source. So for example, if the regional center was the entity to fund the placement, let's say, and then we would bill or invoice, or DDS would be able to kind of trickle down, okay, county's responsible for this piece, and then regional center would get reimbursed. Just talking about having a consistent stream of funding would really alleviate some, I said tensions yesterday during the testimony, and I qualified that by saying I didn't want people to think that our tensions were aggressive or angry. It's just like, it just creates another like a deep sigh, that kind of tension. So working to have a consistent funding stream would be wonderful. And then also in Early Start specifically, we have to have documentation of the educational rights holder. When we have children who are dually served with child welfare, it's really hard to get that information right away. The document it's called the JV 535. It's like our proof to know who is the educational rights holder. That person is the only person who can make decisions and authorize evaluation and treatment and therapies for that child. So afterward in the hallway, there was a lot of chatter about that. And I did get a business card from someone from Children's Law Center who told me, just call me if you ever need this. So I told her I will. And it was just, just more examples of great collaboration and opportunities. And so that's enough, I think. Thank you.
That is excellent. Thank you again. When you have that, you're representing our entire system when you're up there testifying in front of those state senators. And so that's, I will say, I just want to add one other thing to this. When these, when the agendas come out, there's also good information that's written into the agenda itself. And something I did not know, well, I learned when I did the testimony last month about the just increases in autism, that in the next 5 years, autism is going to outpace intellectual disability as the largest diagnosis in the state of California. But what I did not know, Jennifer, and I met with Lori about it afterwards because I was concerned, it was that 5% of the regional center clients have CPS involvement. And wow. I just, that when you look at the numbers that we serve, that is huge. But I, was talking to Lori and I thought about my time back when I was a juvenile court investigator 20 years ago for Sacramento County. And I had Alta clients, and I guess now it was kind of disproportionate there. Now that I think about it, when I think about the, I did have a few of them out of my caseload. And so it's just a high number, right, Jennifer?
Yeah, John, to take that one little step further, I heard that same statistic yesterday also. 5% of all regional center clients are child welfare involved. Of that 5%, 67% are ages 0 to 3.
Wow.
Which that also was sad and I don't know.
But it's also recognized. This is, to be clear though, does not mean that these are individuals that went through a dependency court hearing and had parental rights terminated or anything like that. It just means that they're being touched by the child welfare system.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of supports that they can provide specifically. I was looking at Isabella right now because she's been working with the CPS folks, trying to get more services to them. Maybe
and that's a great example of the collaboration, because the great work that Isabella is doing is because we knew someone at Sacramento County to connect with, and it wasn't, we weren't just blindly calling. We knew who to go to. So that'll just be a little tickler of information. We'll have Isabella share that sometime here in the near future to the group, kind of the work on that. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Again, that's awesome. Jordan, I am going to do the PAC vendor relations stuff first, and then I'll jump over to you afterwards.
No problem.
So we had our provider advisory committee meeting yesterday. It was relatively lightly attended. We had a lot of folks that were down at the California Supported Living Network conference in San Diego as well too. But one of the things that we discussed is something that the vendor relations group has been talking about for quite some time, which is really having a very clear guideline on when do we get in contact with the service coordinator, when do we get in contact with the community services specialist, talk to managers, what do we do? And so there was a document that we went over that I'm going to share here, and For things like this, we like our provider advisory committee to take a look at things like this before we then bring a document to a wider vendor group, and especially since we have our managers on here and everyone else. And so this document talks about the purpose of community services and support specialist. Briefly, talks about the position, acting as a liaison, completing needs assessments, supporting resource development, and ensuring that we have successful outcomes for our clients, making sure that we have successful quality services. When should a service provider engage with their specialist as opposed to a service coordinator or supervisor? Problems or questions related to service utilization, referrals, service design, or program design, and trends in service coordinator actions or communication should be taken to the specialist. Additionally, if Alta is not meeting the needs of the service provider, consult your specialist for assistance. But that's not like client-specific issues. Like if you're a service provider and you have a question about a specific client, please go to that service coordinator. If there's a question that you have about a purchase of service, you can go to that service coordinator as well. It's related to your vendorization, you can talk to the community services specialist. If you want to look at adding a new service to your vendorization, you can talk to that community services specialist. If you want to know who's the assigned SC for a client, then you can call the main line. And if you want to update your vendor contact information, you can contact your community services specialist for that as well. One of the things we discussed is that if you're unable to get in contact with your service coordinator, please contact their client services manager. And if the client services manager is unavailable, please contact an associate client services director. And that was a change that we made yesterday in the meeting because we want to make sure that you guys know that you can reach out to the associate client services directors as well. And if you're unable to get in contact with the community services specialist, you're welcome to please contact their manager, or you can contact me, or we're here every single Friday. We're locked into a room with you every Friday for an hour. And so if for some reason you're not getting a response back from one of the staff or from me, you can even put something in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself, because I've had people do that before too, and say, hey, John, you owe me a phone call back. So please, right now, it is very important for us that you all have people that are being responsive to you. We have a lot of new service coordinators. We have a lot of new people, at least on Helen's team in the community services side of things, but we have some new folks on Jordan's side and on Michelle's side as well. Michelle is still new. Helen is still new. Jordan has been at this for a year plus now, but there's just a lot of things that are going on, and we really want to ensure that we're being responsive to you as service providers. So please elevate it if you are not getting responses. Then additionally, where does the specialist in the community supports department fall into the Alta organizational structure? And if you click here, it will take you over to Alta's organizational chart, and you can open up that version of it and get an idea of where we fall in the organization. And what should I do if I'm dissatisfied with information given to me by my specialist or an interaction with my specialist? Please elevate that to the manager, to their supervisor, if there is an issue related to this. During the course of our discussion about this yesterday with everyone at the Provider Advisory Committee, there was some questions that were raised, and there was some discussion that occurred related to the attendance in person for meetings by service coordinators at our regional center. And the comments that were shared by the service providers was that we have meetings that are scheduled in person at a day program, for example, or at a agreed upon site, and our service coordinators are not attending those meetings, but rather calling in remotely. And it seemed to be that there is some concerns or questions that everyone is aware, both on the service provider side of things and on the case management side of things at our regional center, about what the requirements are for in-person work that we are doing. And so I wanted to first, before we get into it, as you can see, we've got our executive management staff on here, right? Jennifer and I, we've got our associate client services directors that oversee the managers, and we've got at least a quarter of or to a half of our managers that are on here right now as well. So I wonder for service providers, if there is anyone else that has any feedback as to whether or not this is something that has been going on I would assume since COVID and the move to the remote, because we want to know if this is something that was occurring with maybe one vendor or two vendors, or if this is something that folks are seeing going on more commonly. And specifically, it's you are conducting in-person meetings with the clients, but you are being requested, or that the Alta staff is participating in the meeting remotely. So I would like to open it up to providers if you could share if that is something that you have encountered. Before I start calling on you specifically.
I've experienced that at my program.
Do we, well, let me ask you, Bonnie, because it seemed like yesterday there might be a need for it. Do you think that it might be beneficial for us to send out correspondence to our service providers that clarify the expectations of our service coordinators when it comes to in-person meetings and remote meetings?
I think that that knowledge would be helpful. I know that I shared what I learned yesterday at the PAC from you with my site, in particular with the managers, because what we've seen is to demonstrate that would be like, I'm only available to meet in person on these 2 days because these are my in-office days. I'm not available these 3 days because they're my work from home. And so with our particular most recent situation, the one of those days was a day that our staff doesn't work. And, because we do a Tuesday through Saturday or a Sunday through Thursday. So then we were narrowed down to just one day. And the client that we serve said he wanted the meetings to be in person. He didn't want to do Zoom. So I think that we ended up we met in person with the client, and then their service coordinator Zoomed in because they were on a work from home day.
Thank you. And I see some comments in the chat that are popping up as well. And I would encourage folks that they want to drop it in the chat, or if they want to, oh, thanks. Michelle, you're welcome to unmute yourself if this is a similar experience that you've had with Dream Theater too.
Yes, we've had it actually just yesterday, but sometimes when it's happened, it's because so the service coordinator has mentioned that they didn't feel well, so they were able to still at least do it remotely.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the circumstances yesterday, but we did have it yesterday. The only thing it's causing is that we are in a location that our internet is up and down. So it took about 20 minutes to even get the Zoom working for us to be able to start the meeting. So, that causes a little problem. So, but that's about it. But yes, we've had several meetings that the service coordinators did remotely.
Okay, well, that's a couple pieces of feedback. There's about 10 more day programs on here. And so I'm curious if others have had it. Has it been an issue at PEC? SEs have been meeting folks in person and or virtually, depending on what that individual requests. And on my own has not had to deal with it either. All right, I'm going to throw it over to our case management folks because we did get, got some feedback yesterday. Certainly, it sounds like it is going on in some programs. I don't know if it's going on across, my question is always, I don't want to make a big, huge deal out of things that aren't really going on widely, but it sounded like there has been some, issues in some areas. So with this feedback, it sounds like we're getting a little bit of a mixed bag of responses in the chat as well related to it. So I will throw it over to the ADs or Jennifer if you guys want to weigh in. And then I think Johnny's got something that we wanted to touch on as well, I think afterwards, right, Johnny, about attendance?
About attendance from vendors. I
yes.
think it's sort of the other way around as well too, where because I know that our STs, they are expected to have meetings in person, and so let's say they are trying to coordinate a meeting in person, and I think that the same request from vendors as well too to attend in person. So I think that'll be helpful instead of doing it virtually. But I think in terms of relating to SCs not attending because they're working remotely, I think that definitely is a concern, right? Because I mean, they are expected to work just as if they're in the office. And so their station may be different, but definitely the expectation and duties are the same. And so I think when that happens, kind of looping back to the emails with, you know, having the managers listed, as well as, you know, I'll have you, I'm sorry, the instruction that John mentioned a little bit earlier about who to contact, right? So escalated to the manager and then to the associate directors. And so just know that if you're, you know, as a vendor, if you're going to, you know, hitting sort of a barrier or roadblock, can't schedule something because somebody is not, you know, available because they're saying, look, it's my remote day, I would certainly encourage and empower you to contact the manager. If you don't hear back, I hope that our manager will be responding quickly to let you know that, look, should not be the case. If you're not hearing that, let the associate directors know so that way we can follow up accordingly. Because yeah, that is a concern.
Let's see, other ADs or Michelle that want to weigh in on this one?
I was just gonna say, yeah, you know, I agree. It doesn't sound like, based on, you know, the majority here at this meeting, that it's a major impactful situation. But I also have one-on-ones with my managers, and I will just give them reminders at the one-on-ones that they can share at their unit meetings. You know, just that to remind, because I do know that during COVID, you know, they weren't going anywhere. They weren't leaving the home. And so remote work did become working from home. So we just have to reframe that and make sure they really understand that remote work just means where your office is located. And so we can do that on our end too, with reminders to our managers.
Absolutely. All right. Again, you know, it came up yesterday. Certainly wanted to have an opportunity to get a little bit more feedback from providers. And Eric, yes, go ahead. Hand raised.
And just on the reminders, one thing that my staff did mention was that we weren't being necessarily always included on IPP meetings, and just making sure that we're all invited to those meetings as well. That was something that's been difficult. And then when we're trying to do our ISP meetings, folks say, oh, well, we already met, you know, and so that's been a little difficult. So if you're sending out reminders, that's something that my staff requested.
I see space for us sending out a memo to folks about this so that they are kind of aware of what the expectations they should be able to have for service coordinators, and then vice versa. Some of the things that Michelle brought up last week, you know, about offering those, you know, that client choice. But if the client is choosing to have that in-person meeting and we are choosing to join remotely, then we're not honoring that client's choice in doing the in-person meetings. So anyways, thank you very much, folks, for sharing that. Again, I appreciate being able to get additional feedback from providers about how frequently it's going. And it's nice because we have cross-section of different types of vendors that responded to the chat and in here. So thank you for that. Jordan, you've got 3 updates.
I do, and we got about 4 minutes. It'll be perfect timing. So just a couple of quick community resource development plan updates. Some very exciting news regarding Marisol Village, our multifamily home project off of Richards Boulevard here in Sac. We do have our client that's going to be signing the lease and look at like moving in next week. So it's very exciting to see clients be moving in. I know Dan Kilmer has been working really hard on that project. So we're just so excited to see the effect that these long-term housing options are going to have for the clients who have been identified. So it's just really exciting time. We also just wanted to give a quick plug. I'll put some links here in the chat that in regards to our community resource development plan priorities, I know I've shared with you guys that we have 2 projects we're proposing this year. One is a adult residential facility for clients with criminal justice involvement and substance use disorders. We have received applications for that proposal. This week, we have been interviewing those applicants, and we will be making a decision regarding which applicants will be awarded that ARF home on April 28th. So we'll keep folks posted. We did not get any applications for our American Sign Language and Signing Staff Registry pilot program. So the links that I put in the chat And I'll just quickly share my screen if that's okay here. We did repost the ASL project. So if you go to request for future proposals, you're going to scroll down to the community placement plan and the resource development plan, and it'll have all the details here of where you'd want to send in your proposal. When you click onto this link, hopefully it won't lose you guys here. You guys see the actual proposal, John? Okay.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. Cool. So it'll give you all the details. I know I'm scrolling kind of fast just due to time, but it'll give you all the details about this project, right? And the goals, and then the information for actually completing the written proposal. So the last plug I have is that I didn't see any EBSH, CCH vendors on here this morning, but do want to just remind folks that we will be having a vendor forum next Tuesday, April 25th from 10 to noon here in the Brenda Smith Conference Room at the Regional Center. So those are our advanced behavioral support homes and our community crisis homes. I got to remember the acronym thing, right? Help people out with acronyms. So.
Very good. And we do have a couple other vendor forums. We have EI vendor forum that's coming up June 13th at 1 o'clock. I think Adriana's going to get the invites out for that one. And then we're working on setting a date for a transportation vendor forum. One last thing real quickly, and I can drop the link into the chat for people, but alterregional.org, we had an opportunity to update our resource page, and it's kind of cool, but let's see here. Let me share real quick. And on this screen, one of the things that's new, so if you go to our menu and you go to clients and families, click on the resources, and then are you guys seeing the resources page? Yep. All right. And then now you can see the Deaf Plus resources. You can see the housing and living options. This is a brand new one. We haven't had a housing and living options section before. And so this is got information about our strategic plan. What do you do if you're looking for housing? And then what are some of our different living options are as well. And so we're going to be building in more and more into this resource page here. And then buried in the resource page, which is one of the issues with our website, is the list of where all the social recreation vendors are that we have vendored so far. So you click on that and it'll open up the file of all of the camps and all the other cool services that our staff have been working on getting vendored. So just some new stuff to check out on our website if you haven't already. All right, folks, it's 12:01, and I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend and look forward to talking to everyone next week. We'll maybe give a little update on the stuff that Isabella's been working on with CPS and Heather's position, the acute care coordinator stuff. So have a great weekend, folks. Take care. National ASL Day tomorrow.